Bet First Man 2 now, live on Indiegogo. Sure, I draw realistic comics all the time, or pseudo-realistic as I like to call them. My style is pseudo-realism. I've done some cartoony stuff. It was in the late 90s at Marvel when Joe Madureira, Mike Rowingo, Humberto Ramos were really super popular over there, and they were trying to get guys to draw more cartoony, and I did that for a little bit. But I'm always more pseudo-realistic, but I love cartoony work. I have a few books on cartooniness, drawing cartoony. Ken Hultgren is a legendary Walt Disney artist. He has a great book on just drawing animals, but this whole book covers the know-how of cartooning, caricature, animals, figures, and perspective. Books like this are fun and good for people learning to draw because it really is about the basics. Some introductory exercises with using a brush. Well, actually, let's look at the contents. The contents of this are, it's only a 90-page book. Action, approach, simple head construction, features and expression, hands, lettering, animation, squash and stretch. Squash and stretch is a key component of animation, but you can also use it in just still drawings as well. Michael Golden is fantastic at that. The G.I. Joe special number 2 he did, the way he moves the vehicles and things are very, you just get such a feeling of movement because he's exaggerating stuff. Animals, simplified approach, even drawing more, like I said, pseudo-realistic like I do, starting off with a simplified approach to animals and then building on top of that is very important. Pugnacious types of characters. Feminine figures, foreshortening. I mean, this book has it all. He leaves pages blank like this for practice. He doesn't go into a ton of detail. I mean, that the contents is, there's a lot in that table of contents for a 90-page book. So anyhow, line of action. Here he's showing the approach of building a figure using basic shapes. And even stuff like this would work for the type of stuff I do. You know? I love this guy. Strong cop. I mean, you can definitely see the Disney style in here. Now, I don't know if it's a Disney style, but you can tell this guy was a Disney animator from the way he constructs things and does his work. Features and expression. Another great book I'll have to go through is Jack Ham. Jack Ham's book is only about 90 pages as well, but it's chock full of tons of information. I don't know if pages like this were necessary. Everybody, even 30 years ago, you could grab 30 is 1991, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, just grab some scrap paper. You don't necessarily need to have the blank paper in the book. Hands are tough to draw, but building with simple shapes like this really help. Oval shape, here's using more of a block and cube shape. Proportions of a hand. Some different poses here of a hand. And of course, practice. Here he gets into lettering, something I should really pay attention to because my lettering is awful. I should actually read this. All these are great tips, though, for lettering. Here he's talking about animation. If you're actually concerning yourself with drawing movement for animation, you can apply some of these rules to comics as well. But in animation back then, somebody literally had to draw every pose, so it would obviously animate through. And the more drawings you did per second, the smoother the animation would be. So, 24 drawings a second is a lot smoother than, say, 5 drawings per second. This is great, though, just to see for animal movement. Here he's showing the bouncing ball, and in real life, a ball doesn't squash and stretch like this, but in animation, you want to do that to really exaggerate and get that feeling of movement. showing weight, like even doing something like this in comic books can work. You know, drawing the Blob sitting on something, you give a little bend to it. Here he's going into some about animals and simple animal construction. Like I said, his book on drawing animals is fantastic. Very knowledgeable. But using these basic shapes to start constructing. Everything breaks down to basic shapes. Doesn't matter how detailed or realistic the drawing might be. You break things down into these basic shapes first. Animal heads. I mean, these horses are pretty realistically drawn here. So you can see that even though this guy worked for Disney, when somebody says, oh, they worked for Disney, everybody thinks, oh, you just draw cartoony stuff. You know, if you show a portfolio to Disney, and I assume this still holds till today, I knew people that worked at Disney, they don't want to see in a portfolio Mickey Mouse and Goofy and cartoony stuff. They want to see a portfolio of life drawings of people and animals, because they know if you can do life drawings, doing the cartoony stuff, you'll be able to do. Great tips on pull and tension for wrinkles and so on and so forth. Here he gets into showing some wrinkles here, and then even pull and tension and faces and stuff. Talking about caricature, obviously you do have people that kind of look like that, and then if you're going to caricature them, you just exaggerate. Birds of a feather flock together. Try for rhythm and sweep in your drawings. I love how he breaks down the wings so simply here. Practice drawing your birds. Practice, practice. Here he's going through the importance of line. This kind of gets into line weight and such. Foreshortening. He's just touching on everything just in a few pages. I mean, it's not an in-depth book, but it's good if you already have some basic skills. Feminine figures. Oh, yeah. Look at that nice flow to this figure. Breaking down, when drawing the feminine figure, first try for the action of the pose. The next step, put in the main action lines as in numbers 1 to 4, then put in the main accents in the figure. The third stage, pull it all together. A little more difficult than that, but the basic gist is correct. Giving nice flow to the figures. See, after these 3 pages, you should be able to draw a perfect female figure. Not. But once again, he's hitting on, like, this book is basically hitting on the main components, the strong key points of each aspect he's breaking down. Animal comics. This reminds me of Pogo stuff. Walt Kelly's Pogo. Pugnacious types. Pugnacious. I don't know why that's how I sound when I think of pugnacious, but it is. Contrast, size and shape. Contrast between characters. Incongruity and distortion. This is nice on layout. Wrong. Look at that. Boring. Flat. Look, everything's the same size. Right. Depth. Perspective. Kind of like in a previous book I was talking about, Bob McLeod's book. Foreground, middle ground, background. You know, long shot, medium, long, medium, close-up, close-up. He's obviously inks more with a brush, so he's showing different types of inking with a brush for textures. Here he's talking about props. More about texture and inking. Here he's talking about the use of black, how it can help. This shows a nice shape here. It holds the figures together. This is poor black spotting because it's just heavy right on this side. This pulls everything together nicely. This is unbalanced with the weight right there. Here, the black pattern is used with sameness. It becomes monotonous because, you know, you look at this one, nice flow to it, nice curve. This is just blah, straight across. This is nice because you have the black from the lighting on the left side of the figure, and then on the right side where the light source is the strongest, he put black behind it to balance it out. That's very nice. Talking about lighting. Short little subject on children. Children are hard to draw, but they can be done easy as well. Goes into dogs. He said his book on just drawing animals breaks down a lot better than this one does. A lot more steps, lots of different animals. This was just pretty much dogs. Here it is, The Art of Drawing Animals. This book is one of my favorites. I do have it as well, so maybe I'll have to do a video on that one. So anyhow, I saw this book, knew I had to have it. Once again, I have a huge selection of books on how to draw. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.
Luke Henry, after kicking Monarch's ass to the depths of space, is back on Earth, and now he's looking to save the world from the Fourth World Foundation. Sure, he had help from Penumbra before, but she's not helping him this time. He's got to face it on his own. He's coming for a villain known as Adonis. He'll do it. You'll be there. Back it now. First Man 2, Learning Curve.